Welcome to the Startups and AI podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jake Cutler, who's the founder of Amplify.io. Welcome to the podcast, Jake. I'd love to hear about what you're building at Amplify.io.
Sure. We're one company with two brands, not to confuse people. BizFi.io is our client-facing brand where we offer all kinds of financial services, equipment finance, lines of credit, all kinds of term loans, and capital finance options for B2B. Amplify is actually our innovation platform that helps make it all happen. Our SaaS platform that we're continuing to build out to help make it a better, more impactful process. And we're continuing to do that at Amplify.io.
Awesome. So, fintech and lending, it's a very big space and there's a lot of players. How did you get into this space? And tell me a bit more about how you figured out the problem to go after and your journey.
That is a big question. It's a great question. Fintech can just mean so many things. I actually went out and got a master's degree. I got a master's degree in digital innovation for fintech at Brandeis University. And so I've studied a lot, and it can mean so many things. Like the payment space is really intense. There's crypto, there's wallets, but I come from a B2B lending background. I got started in equipment finance maybe 20 years ago over in the United Kingdom. Found that it was a great way to help small businesses, but there was just so much work to get people to complete an application, to get them approved, and to get it funded. It was so much work. And I thought when I returned to America, perhaps our processes would be easier and make more sense. And I came back to the States to find that we were even more backwards and archaic than they were in Europe. They were starting to accept DocuSign, which was phenomenal back then. This is like 10 years ago. And came back to the States to find that we were still sending 2 copies of wet signed documents in the mail to lenders to get things funded 2 or 3 days later. And it just seemed like a really interesting space that I was already a part of to be disruptive. And so that's when I decided to go out and get the master's degree. I wasn't planning to be an entrepreneur. I thought I'd get my master's degree and go work for a big company, help them push digitally innovative strategies. And what I found when I got to that big player was that I didn't think they treated clients very well. They didn't give better rates. They didn't give more approvals. And they had 100 people all doing data entry. And they were not interested in my thoughts on how we could be more innovative and deliver better experiences. And that was a big inspiration for me to go out on my own and see if I could do something better.
That's an amazing story. Basically, you've lived the problem yourself and then you wanted to build something better. There's a there's a big path from going from an idea, identifying the problem and then actually implementing, which is basically 0 to 1, getting your first customers. How was that path like? That's usually one of the most difficult ones. And what were the challenges you faced and what was that path like for you?
I think my experience has been a bit different. I mean, maybe every experience is unique, but we were able to, as a financial services business, get clients, and we could do it the old way. Part of my inspiration was that I really liked to partner with people that sold equipment sellers or vendors, whatever terminology you want to use. And I was frustrated that there wasn't like a technology or a product that I could offer them or one that I could use to make it a better experience. And so that's part of what I set out to build. So we built a progressive web app, which is called Amplify, that we can offer to sellers to make it easy for them to offer finance, make it easier for their clients to apply and get approved. It's kind of I guess I'll come back to it, but we expanded to offer that also to like accountants, fractional CFOs, and business consultants. So we're getting a lot of traction there. But setting out to build a progressive web app, it's been treacherous. It's not been easy. You know, there was a massive increase in fintech investment back in 2021. It was like 70 billion of fintech investment in 2020. 2021, it went up by 70% to like 200 billion. And that and the experience I had at the lender I mentioned was part of what kind of tricked me into being a founder. There was a ton of money around. And so in 2021, our mentality was, let's build a team, let's get a deck, and let's raise some money to build a big product. Unfortunately or fortunately, I didn't raise that year. I mean, had I raised $1 million, I am not sure as someone who was new to founding and new to technology and building what I could have spent that on. So I'm probably better off that I didn't raise the money in some ways. But by the end of 2022, I noticed that people were no longer, in my mind, angel investing. It wasn't about like, hey, we like your team and your idea, let's cut you a check. At the, post-pandemic, people wanted to see products and revenues and partners. And so that's what we set out to do in 2022. We need to build products. We need to have users and revenues based on the products. But bootstrapping is very, very hard. And 2022, looking back on it now, didn't go well. But it is what led us here. So we couldn't be here without it. But bootstrapping was very hard. People, what I think one of the key lessons to provide to anyone out there is that Developers always say yes, like, hey, we're gonna build this thing in this amount of time for this amount of money. And a lot of times it's an exaggeration. People's ability to deliver, third party developers' ability to follow through is not great. And it's a lot to manage. So as a founder, I've had to get better, find new partners, upgrade my own skills and abilities, and build stuff. But we were able to get there. We built products, we have users, we have revenues. And I think our opportunity to scale is not upon us, but I think we're heading in that direction.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess sometimes constraints can make you like innovate and focus on the right problems. And if you have like too many resources, sometimes maybe you'll go in several different directions instead of being focused. So it seems like, so did you end up raising afterwards, or well, or did you just
We made a small family and friends kind of raise in the early days, and I've had a little bit of capital here and there from some other angel investors and partners who wanted to help out and see us move forward. And I think we're potentially in a good place to do a greater raise. But I think one of the topics you want to cover, and I don't want to jump ahead, is AI and how it's affecting us. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to continue to build and hopefully get to a bigger valuation. But we would like to do a bigger raise when the time's right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's jump into the AI part. Like how has that changed the way you're running your business or the way you're thinking about raising? Or like I guess the word in the market is like now you can build like a single person using AI can build a business and you don't need to spend as much money. You might not even need to raise as much because you could use AI to do it. Like how practical is that and what are you seeing in your experience with AI?
This is actually one of my favorite stories growing up, right? Like about 9 months ago, you start hearing, these ramblings about AI coding. I check in with some of my good friends and some people that are really, really competent developer type personalities. Like, hey, what do you think this AI coding thing? And initial response was like, don't worry about it. Don't waste your time. It's kind of like a junior developer. It's not going to really help you do anything. And like 90 days later, I check back in with the same people. So now we're talking like 6 months ago. And, the story had changed. Like, hey, you know what? I use AI coding every day and it's making me and my team 20% more productive. And then 3 months ago, the word kind of vibe coding starts coming out where people are building their own stuff. And just last week, Claude Opus 4.7 came out, and the word is great at implementing code, creating
Hmm.
code, not implementing, creating code. And that's one of the problems we face is it's really good at generating code, but you still need people who know what they're doing. It can also, meander and give bad results. And so you need people around who can actually check it and
Hmm.
implement things and make sure it's right. We face an issue because we already have a lot of code. And so cleaning it and getting it implemented and getting it refactored takes a lot of work behind the scenes, even if it can generate code. People with a small app idea can just stand them up now. It's incredible. I've met people who
Hmm.
vibe coded, show me their apps. They use a Firebase backend. They're using Vercel. They've chosen an IDE and they can just generate dashboards overnight. It's incredible. It's an incredible
Hmm.
opportunity, but it's a double-edged sword. It's an incredible opportunity for us, but it's an incredible opportunity for other people. And so
Yeah.
that's scary. Which way is it going to fall? But we're very excited to try to harness not only AI and AI coding and how can we build it into our product, but also AI agents, which I think will also be very impactful. And I'm interested in your take, because at some point previously you needed say this is 100% of a software product, right? And you needed to
Hmm.
code out and teach it to, take these
Hmm.
things, assess them in this way and send them over here. And you still need
Hmm.
software and you still need a product that people can engage with. But some of that, take this stuff, assess it and send it over here can kind of be done with agents now. You can take some things and move them around with agents and move it through an LLM and assess it and take information back in a different way without needing that software product. I don't think we're necessarily there today, but I think there's some element that we could be heading in that direction. So I'm curious,
Hmm.
curious to see how that will play out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like even GPT 5.5 came out, I think, after Opus 4.7, it's even beating it in certain like coding benchmarks. Yeah, like you said, every 3 months, the capability is getting higher and higher. And I think in my experience as well, like if you can explain it exactly what you're looking for and the problem, like very specifically, then you will get good results. But if you are like, if your problem statement or if your requirements are very vague, then you'll get like a vague output. So it's basically the quality of input will determine the quality of output, and how much context you can provide an LLM or your agent determines the quality of output you will get. So I think that means that people who are already experts in certain area can get even better versus like people who are not experts. They can vibe code something, but they can't build something that's enterprise level, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, can you build enterprise level? No, but is there a power? And you kind of intimated this early in the discussion. Can new founders and solopreneurs do more than ever before? We're more powerful than ever before.
Yeah.
Enterprise gets more complicated. I think they'll also do really interesting things, but in a very different way. But I see AI coding as something that's a little bit like speaking languages.
Hmm.
Not everyone's great at it, and it's
Hmm.
not always who you think, but some people really get their heads around it and how to, and I think you're correct, right? You have to speak to it in a certain way and ask it to build things in a certain way. And it's not just going to work for everyone. Not anyone can just sit down and ask it to do things and it's going to work out. There's some people that just have a real acumen and understanding of how to speak to it and get it to do what they want. And those people are I think, going to really excel. And it's not everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it, the way I think about it is like you can definitely punch above your weight now. For a solopreneur, you could do something that would have taken 5 people. If you're a 5 people team, you could do would have taken a 50 people team, and maybe like 50 to 100 people could like build enterprise grade now, right? Like which required like 1,000, 5,000 people. So basically you could just get to that next level without that amount of investment that you used to take.
Yeah, I think that's partly our name of our SaaS platform, right? Like Amplify is your
Mhm.
team amplified. How much more finance can they do? How many more people can they reach? And the software is a big part of that, and the AI that builds it behind the scenes is a big part of it. And I think what you can build now compared to just a couple years ago is just tremendously different. What you needed a couple 100,000 for, which comes back to the raise, right? Like you had to raise money to build
Mhm.
software platforms and you needed a couple 100,000 to work with teams and have developers and build something. And now a couple $100,000 worth of software, you may be able to do for a much more economical rate. You still need a team. You still need people with know and acumen, but what we can produce, it's a really incredible opportunity. So I'm super excited to be a founder. I think we're in a great spot, right? We've gone through the pains of doing some product market fit. We have some users. We have some products that we now have an opportunity to improve and make better faster. And that's incredibly exciting.
Awesome. What are some lessons you've learned while reaching that product market fit that maybe when you started out you didn't know about, and that's something that could help like someone who's starting off right now?
It's such an interesting question. Just being a founder is not easy. And people that embrace being a founder, whether they're doing SaaS platforms or AI, or whether they're just building a building business, there's some similar messages that come back. And it's tough. It's tough for everyone. You have to wear every hat. You have to do everything. For us in particular, finding users that would use the products and how we polish them and make them better has been a long, winding journey. So entrepreneurship's not for everyone. And it's something I've heard out there that resonates with me, that a lot of it is your pain tolerance. You have to stick with it. You have to stay through time. You can't just give up when there's challenges. And stick to itiveness and sticking with it is, I think, a big part of being a successful founder.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Any like particular pain points or like, the things that you learned which helped you build that pain tolerance, or some examples basically, some practical
Um,
examples that could help people.
I would use the same example again, even with the AI and vibe coding, being here. One of my greatest messages is that for first time founders, there's a lot of developers out there that make big promises. And you have to really be prepared. Don't use up all your budget. Build things one product at a time. Don't work with one person to build a whole platform. Break it down, try them up front, find a way to have a small project that you get started with people. And I find personally the people that are the most vocal with the biggest promises disappear the fastest. Just the people that are like, you're not going to believe how great this is going to be. They're like gone the next week, so you have to find people that show back up, that come back around, that deliver. And I love people that believe in themselves and will build something for you, not necessarily for free, but like they're willing to get a start because they want to show you what they can do. And those people I find can be, have been some of our best partners, can be some of your best partners, people that want to show you and don't need money first. And those people that are like, listen, you got to pay us up front.
Mhm.
Also a red flag. If someone's not willing to build incrementally and get paid incrementally and they want all the money up front, I also find that those people can tend to disappear when things get tough and when you need them to follow through on their building and on their products. So get to know people, I guess, try them out, find ways to try them, find small projects, and start building are
Mm-hmm.
some of my advice I would provide to other founders.
Awesome. Yeah, all great advices. And I think you also touched upon a pretty good point that don't just build everything at once, right? Like just start with one idea, but also don't build just for one customer because you're trying to build a platform or you're trying to build for a market. So you need to have like multiple use cases, multiple examples, so that you could just build something for that. So in that perspective, how did BizFlow or BizFi evolve? Did you start with just one product and then expand? How did you take that?
I was very lucky that I've been very lucky that some big personalities, some big personas have been interested in what we do and have wanted to help out. And one of my early partners' interests introduced us to the idea of microservices, or sometimes I think I mistakenly call it like micro SaaS. We have one database, we have a shared backend, but we have kind of little different windows into a world. And so we have little micro SaaS products, microservices products, depending on who's using it. And so we kind of use one window for our team. We have another product, Amplify, which is for people who sell equipment and our other partners. So they get a window into the world without seeing people's, sensitive credit data. And then we have our custom online applications, which can be co-branded, which has been very popular with a lot of our seller partners, with our referral partners. And that product has been great for us to get traction and engage with people in a way that helps us build revenues. So that's been a phenomenal product for us. And so we've been able to kind of build separately and incrementally over time based on that.
Awesome. And any other lessons in terms of like getting customer trust, winning customer trust, any like best practices you follow, any workflows you have?
That's where founders just need to get busy, right? I think The Mom Test is a phenomenal book. Finding ways to do live recordings and get feedback loops, all the advice that's out there, but you have to do it. You have to get involved, get a product, get it in front of people, build yourself. No one's going to do it for you. There's no shortcuts. I think actually on reflection, one of my best pieces of advice to founders, anyone out there, shortcuts are always long cuts. Shortcuts are always long cuts. Every time I've tried to take a shortcut or rush something or use a developer that gave me a great price that I thought could help me build a bigger thing cheaply and quickly, it's never worked. You have to go
Mhm.
through the process. You have to build slowly, engage with people, get feedback, and do it right. Anytime I ever tried to take a shortcut and do things more quickly, it's never worked. Shortcuts are always long cuts, particularly when you're building SaaS.
Yeah. And that's where I guess the pain part comes in, where you have to go through this process and not everyone's always ready to go through that painful, long process. Awesome. What do you think the industry or like the world is going to look like in 5 years, the way things are moving? Like, do you have any visions for the future, or what do you think it's going to look like 2 to 5 years? Like,
I may not be the best person to ask that question to. I think that AI and AI coding, well, it's a real opportunity to some solar founders. I think there's a ton of developers and people who, had great careers around this and designers who are now not as impactful and they have to work for less. And there's some people who are really coming around, like there's the AI savants that are really doing so great, but that's not everyone. So you have like this 80-20 principle, right? I think 20% of the developers and the designers are really figuring out AI and how to keep it impactful. And they're taking a ton of the business. And there's a lot of people that haven't figured it out and that are getting left behind. And so I do think the future has some disparity. I think that's what you're seeing in the world. There's a greater divide between kind of haves and have-nots. And that's one of the things that really drives me. I want to be a part of AI and the change. I don't want to be left behind by it. I think if you're not embracing the change, then you're more at risk.
mhm,
So I think everyone should get involved. I think everyone should try vibe coding. Maybe that's dangerous. Maybe that's not a great thing. But that's my advice. It's so easily inaccessible. If you're not learning about this now, how are we going to be a part of what's next? But I don't think this opportunity is going to be around forever. At the moment, they're still training these tools. They've gotten them out. You can generate code extremely efficiently. And will that always be around or will they find a way to monetize it? Are they going to run out of the energy and the capital to kind of fund these things? Because at the moment, they're funding it all at a loss, right? We get to use all these tools cheaply, but actually there's a real cost to it, and there's energy deficiencies. So there's a big question mark. What does happen next?
Hmm.
Who will it advance? Who will get left behind? I don't have those answers. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the coming years,
Hmm.
but I hope it can be a benefit to everyone and not just a few.
Yeah, absolutely. What would be something you'd like to see? Like maybe like our prediction is like there's going to be a lot of disruption. Maybe the existing jobs are not going to exist in the way they are, but maybe there's going to be a lot of new kind of jobs. Like, we have social media influencers as a new job that never existed before, social media came about. So maybe with AI, like there's going to be new kind of jobs. So what's like something you'd
I,
like to
I,
see?
there's so much opportunity for us as as humanity. Hopefully, that's not like too broad and ethereal, right? But this is going to change the design of our cars. I work in equipment, right? So I think of things like skid steers and the equipment we need to do business. It's all going to be designed differently. It can be designed better, more functional. The way we control things can be improved. The opportunity for everything to work and be easier and better is there, and I'm excited for that. I think this can just be a massive benefit to society in a ton of ways. Hopefully, there won't be so much disparity, but it's a massive opportunity for people to get out there and get involved. I think there's going to be a plethora of solo founders solo software founders. I think there's rumors that the ability for the first kind of solo unicorn business is there in ways that it's never been before. When might we see that? That someone just has a great idea and doesn't need a massive team behind them. I think something you touch on there, like social media, I think there's already a backlash beginning now, right? Like there's so much automatically generated content that people are detached from social media content and media. And I think there will be, I think people are starting to have a hunger for human generated relationships and content because there's kind of been a wall that's gone up. I think there's, just like we talked about with fintech, could mean so many things. It could mean payment. It could mean crypto. It could
Yeah.
mean B2B. It could mean a credit card, right? Originally, fintech was a credit card. That was a technology at one point, 50 years ago. But I think in the social media space with AI, I think there's just been so much generated in the last 8 months. People are already getting to a place where they actually are craving human connection more. And I'm keen to see that as well. How do we use AI to benefit us and generate content, but keep the human connection and not just be detached? I always joke,
Mm.
that at some point it's going to be a world of bots, right? Like someone has their outgoing bot and someone has their incoming bot, and it's just going to be two bots sending messages back and forth. And what's going to be the result? Is there actually going to be some kind of a marriage where it brings on business? So that'll be interesting to see as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like you said, hopefully AI could do like all the boring kind of jobs that we never wanted to do in the first place, and we have more time for like human connection and new ideas. And there's going to be a rise of solopreneurs for sure. And I also think there's going to be a lot of opportunity of building stuff for SMBs or like small businesses, because in the past they were like too small to focus on by enterprise, but now you can build almost enterprise grade software for small businesses. So I think that's going to be a big opportunity as well.
I think that's what I'm most excited about, to see how what's happening now with a ton of new founders and new people that are developing software just on their own. What can that bring? What kind of change can that bring? I think it's super exciting, and it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts people.
Awesome. What's your vision for BizFi in the next, like, let's say 5 years? What would you love to see?
We've got some really nice traction now. We're trying to build a bigger platform. And so while we started with equipment finance, we offer all kinds of lending options now. We're continuing to build out how we use LLMs to assess the submissions when they come in, and also to assess our lenders. And we're working on how we match up in between. And we'd like to continue to do that. And I think there's a great opportunity for us in the referral network space. Kind of getting back to what we were saying, there's tons of automations in emails, and there's tons of automations on the socials platforms. And so we've been able to kind of create referral networks with a great offering that resonates with people. And we want to kind of continue to cut through the noise with human connection. So that's what we're focusing on. And hopefully we can just continue to grow to the place where we can get the bigger raise and grow the bigger company. And we'd love to be a primary challenger out there in about 5 years. And we see that we've got to grow a little bit every year. We can't suddenly jump in revenues. We've got to continue to build partnerships and give a great service and be reputable, and have some morality in how we treat people. We want to have a customer lifetime value. We're not looking to make as much money on any one transaction. And I think that has worked for us and has resonated with people, but we have to continue to grow. And that's not going to be easy. So that's our focus.
Awesome. Any final piece of advice for entrepreneurs? Any other lessons that, or anything that you find inspiration in?
I think there's never been a better time than now. I genuinely believe that now is the perfect time. AI is just coming around. People are still learning it. There's still an opportunity to get involved before, the bigger players come in and buy everything out. And it's just more powerful than ever before for solopreneurs and entrepreneurs to, you know, build web pages and build marketing and build SaaS platforms and find their own niche and do something impactful. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a founder and entrepreneur than right now. So jump in, the water's warm, get involved, contact Gaurav. There's people out there like him that have some really strong acumen and can help you get a start and do something really interesting. And so that's my advice. I think it's a great time.
Awesome. Yeah, great advice. I mean, there's no better time to take some risks and build, basically. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jake, and all the best with BizFi and Amplify. And hopefully you'll crush your goals in the next few years.
It's been
Thanks for
amazing
your
to be
time.
here, Gaurav. Thank you for having me. Pleasure speaking with you, sir. Have a great day.